I'm Steve Scalzo, and this is The Way. You are listening to the December 2024 This is The Way podcast Star Wars news update. It's almost 2025, but Skeleton Crew got off to a great start at the beginning of the last month of 2024. 5 episodes are streaming as of recording of this podcast, and there will probably be 5 as of the podcast release, too, because it should be New Year's Eve that the episode is released, but episode 6 is supposed to be released Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So that means if you're listening to this on the day that this podcast episode is released, tomorrow would be a new year, 2025. Andor's second and final season is supposed to come this year in April. So Star Wars is doing very well streaming right now, which is good, since 2024 also brought us very terrible TV that we are very happy will not continue in the new year or ever.
Yeah? Good.
It's time for me to report Star Wars news released since our last news update podcast. Skeleton Crew's streaming numbers are reportedly low. Very low, and lower than The Acolyte, the show that I was talking about earlier, the very, very terrible one. But listen, I'm skeptical. Not necessarily about the actual numbers, because other streaming number reporters are reporting that it's low, but Lucasfilm does have a vested interest in inflating the Acolyte numbers, even if they're still lower than other big-name shows. I don't know how much access they give to people who report on these things, but I know what my experience is watching this show and talking to others about the shows from Star Wars. Now, this one could certainly be an outlier. My experience could be an outlier. But I trust the people I talk to about the shows that we watch. Skeleton Crew is on people's radars. They just want to wait to binge watch it. You can catch This Is a Way podcast reviews and recaps and discussion podcasts weekly during the season. But you can't for The Acolyte, and for good reason. Skeleton Crew is a good show. It will find an audience. The Acolyte is not. The audience that is there is going to dwindle and diminish.
He speaks the truth.
Andor's April release is highly anticipated. And I don't know how it will do compared to the Acolyte streaming numbers, but I know that there is more promotion for this show than there is for Skeleton Crew. More and more promotional images have been popping up online, and this show releases in April. This is not the kind of marketing that needs spoiler warnings, though. We're not just bridging the gap between Season 1 and the original trilogy with this show, but also the novel Catalyst, the movie Rogue One. All those things are already out there for you to consume. Now, if you haven't seen Rogue One, boy, are you in for a surprise. But Andor's final shot from the first season was the Death Star being assembled from the parts that the prisoners were constructing. We know there will be a droid joining Cassian before too long. And we know we don't see many people from the series in the Rogue One movie. So, casualties are likely, and I highly doubt Tony Gilroy will have trouble dovetailing his works together.
No one's getting out, are they? Not now. Not after this.
Once Skeleton Crew wraps up episode releases, expect marketing for Andor to pick up and maybe kick into overdrive. There have already been other shows and other marketing attempts, but I really feel like Andor is such a critical hit that Disney will want to back that up with some actual numbers. Dave Filoni revealed in an interview with Extra TV that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie has wrapped filming. Post-production is no quick task, but I think we can expect Star Wars Celebration is going to have sneak peeks, and Maybe Celebration 2026 will have one as well, since the movie is scheduled for May 22nd, 2026. That wasn't all Filoni revealed on the Skeleton Crew premiere red carpet. He is the sole writer for Ahsoka Season 2 at the moment.
I've been writing it, and I'm still the single writer on it. Working some of these arcs through has been a challenge, and making sure it's all going to, come out in a way that I think is exciting for fans. I know that they're interested in where some of the things I developed in Season 1 go.
Now, shows get canceled from time to time while in development. New writers are brought in. The character of Ahsoka is Filoni's creation. It's his baby, and I doubt very much that he will leave Sabine and Ahsoka on Peridea and Thrawn on approach to Dathomir. I was under the impression, though, that the movie that he was going to make was going to wrap up the storylines started in The Mandalorian and other post-Empire shows. Favreau and him were supposed to make this movie that was going to wrap up all the storylines. I feel like that was at least strongly implied, if not just overtly told it to us. Not just by this podcast, in news segments. I feel like there has to be some announcement that I'm missing from the creators at Lucasfilm, at Comic-Cons, D23s, Star Wars celebrations. I feel like we knew this was going to be the case, and now it seems like Ahsoka will come out later.
Courtesy Omni Media.
We have that confirmation. Dave Filoni is going to be helming a live-action film that is going to conclude all of the current threads that they have set up in their little pocket of the Star Wars galaxy within the New Republic era.
Season 2 has not started filming, but there are reports online from news magazine IndieWire that not only is production moving to the United Kingdom, but Lucasfilm is not currently shooting anything in Los Angeles. It seems like enough talk about the impersonal nature of the volume and the critical success of Andor has led powers that be to settle on practical sets. Now, I don't hate the volume, and if they've already wrapped up production on The Mandalorian and Grogu, it makes sense that they won't have to use the volume in Los Angeles. I think for space battles, using the volume is the best way to shoot. I mean, it does work for landscape shots as well, but Disney and Lucasfilm seem to go all in on the process, and then fans didn't react well to that. Technology, though, has probably advanced, so maybe there's a smaller volume on set near London at Elstree or Pinewood.
A Jedi.
Star Wars gamers, not much new in Fortnite that I've seen, but if you want to take advantage of game sales and not just Fortnite skins and things like that, you're going to have to hurry. In fact, if you're listening after New Year's Day, it might be too late. Steam is a distributor, and it is running sales on games like Outlaws for 35% off. But that sale, for example, is slated to end on January 2nd. You have a little more time if you're buying through the Epic Store, the makers of Fortnite. At last check online, you could get Squadrons for just $1.99 in the US at 95% off. $1.99. Now, that game's a few years old, but that's pretty cheap. Fallen Order was 90% off. Jedi Survivor was 75% off. And Outlaws was the same discount as on Steam at 35% off. For the Nintendo Store, digital editions of games like The Force Unleashed, Episode 1 Pod Racer, Republic Commando, Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and Knights of the Old Republic, and some of the bundles of the Knights of the Old Republic games are up to 50% off until January 6th. Bounty Hunter and Battlefront Classic Collections are 20% off in the Nintendo Store. I did not have time, and I do not want to recap all the sales for Xbox and Sony PlayStation because the games are going to be off sale pretty soon. But if you want, check them out fast, because those gift cards you may have received for the holidays are not going to go as far if those sales run out.
Join a brave rebellion with Luke Skywalker, Han Solo and Chewbacca, and Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Collectors, Hasbro has a new Kelnaka Black Series figure coming out next year. Yes, it's the Acolyte. I know you just heard what I was saying about the Acolyte. Yes, the series is not coming back, but remember, those are the kinds of pieces that far down the line end up being more valuable. I'm not saying invest heavily in the Acolyte toys, but listen, it's not the only thing that they've announced. There was a Skeleton Crew character coming next year. So far, Hasbro has apparently greenlit SM33. I couldn't find artwork, no prototype photos. The only information that was released came through a pipeline reveal, and it was reported by several different sources. The Acolyte has characters already in stores, and it came out this year. Now, either Hasbro received orders to make those figures early, or it took a big gamble and now it learned a lesson. But either way, the Acolyte is the worst, and it has figures out right now. Skeleton Crew is reaching young viewers. In my own house, by the way. But I can't buy toys to support that.
Just one more thing.
One small note on the Disney parks. It does not appear that you can craft Tak Rened's lightsaber, or the one that he took or stole, or however he came into possession of it. You cannot craft that at Savvy's workshop. I took a close look at all of the switches, sleeves, emitters, caps. None of the ones that are currently available seem to fit when you analyze the still frame of the saber in Skeleton Crew. Now, the parts that are available for Elemental Nature, Power and Control, Peace and Justice don't appear to match at all. The closest match is Protection and Defense, which is supposedly High Republic era. But it's not a perfect match. And you can't even grab between sets. Now, I am sure someone's at work right now. There are a lot of custom lightsaber makers out there. Etsy actually has some stores selling 3D printed and painted parts, but not for Skeleton Crew. So if you're still one of those handful of people that are slapping down $250 when you go to Savvy's workshop, you're going to have to wait for a parts refresh if you're thinking of trying to build or even just own a replica of the infamous Tak Rened stolen Jedi weapon. Who lost this lightsaber in the Old Republic, I wonder? And how did Rened get his hands on it?
I think we can let him off with a warning this time.
Okay, if you think I've missed something, or you disagree with me, or you think I'm the greatest, send me email. thisisthewaypodcast@gmail.com. You can also interact with This Is The Way Podcast through one of our links for social media, X, Instagram. All our links, though, can be found in one place. linktr.ee/thisisthewaypod. This Is The Way Pod is usually the best way to reach us on social media. Thanks for joining me for This Is The Way Podcast's December 2024 news update episode. I hope your 2025 is the best yet, and the best year of Star Wars, too. I'm your host, Steve Lascalzo. May the Force be with you, always.